Amy Resner. I was a colleague in the courtroom when my friend Kamala tried one of her first cases and made the prosecutor's promise for the people. For Kamala, practicing law was always about protecting the vulnerable and giving the victims a voice. Women who were sexually assaulted, children who were mistreated and sexually abused. She helped them navigate their nightmares and demand justice for their injuries. And she did it all with grit and grace, intelligence and heart. She was a remarkable prosecutor, and she will be a remarkable president.
Survivors of sexual assault struggle to be heard over the cacophony of voices demeaning, discrediting, and vilifying them. When powerful offenders are allowed to manipulate public opinion by attacking their victims' credibility, all victims suffer. Those words are from the 2021 amicus brief filed by RAINN, the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization, in the case of E. Jean Carroll versus Donald J. Trump. As a legislator and lifelong advocate against sexual violence, I urge all of us to stand together to support survivors, believe them, and hold perpetrators accountable.
Check, check. They're talking about absolutely nothing, and I noticed that I can't hear myself right now. All right, so we're checking something right now, and I see it. Let's see. Check, 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 check.
Kamala.
Check, check. I cannot hear myself. Oh, no. Oh, there we go. Someone let me know you can hear me right now. Check, check. I cannot hear myself. Yes, I can hear myself. We're good to go. Okay. There we go. All right. Sorry, guys. I had a sound issue. I noticed that I couldn't hear myself. That's why I should have checked my systems again. It happens. If you cannot hear me, please say something. Don't have me up. That's all I'm saying. All right. With me, hang out with me tonight. We're gonna get through this motion. I feel like you can hear me now. Let me make sure. That's all I'm saying. Yes. All right. Sorry. Couldn't hear myself for a second. I had to do a system check, and I noticed there was nothing going on. All right. So if you were with me last night, like we were talking about, Facebook deleted my show. Now, anyway, we're moving over to Rumble. We're going to be on YouTube. Twitch is a very young platform for me. So right now it's just one of those situations where we just got to fill it up with people and followers. And I need you guys, to share the pages, continue to follow the Daily Rabbit Hole as we grow in this journey, right? Also, don't forget to share, follow, share all my pages. I'm all over the internet now. I'm all over social media. So check my link space. I'm always putting that in there. Let's have a good time tonight. Let's get through this DNC. This is the last one, guys. I won't put you through this pain anymore. I won't put you through this struggle. It's difficult. I get it. All right, who's really trying to sit here and watch the DNC for real, for real? I know I'm not. I'm just doing it because I got to cover the deep state and it makes sense. So we're going to go through this motion. We're going to watch it. We're going to hear the last hoorah, and then we're going to more than likely maybe get into the Trump rally tomorrow. I may take a day off. I've been on here all week. May take tomorrow off and relax. So just depending on how I feel. Now, what I could do is just stream it and let y'all watch it, and I may not do any commentary. So we'll see. See how it goes. All right. Now, in regular news, there's a lot of stuff happening right now. Nothing too crazy. And there is some stuff that make you scratch your head. All right. Tonight, we're not going to do a whole lot of news articles. We're just going to kind of let this play out, watch it, listen to what they're talking about. I'm just trying to get through this last DNC, man. I know this stuff is dry. It was fun last night because you guys were over here making fun of everybody. So let's keep that same feel. Let's keep the same energy. Again, the DNC has been speaking nothing but positivity, a lot of strong words, a lot of power words in the last 3-4 days, a lot of shots at Trump. Again, they pulled out the big hitters of Clinton and Pelosi, Schumer, the Obamas, the Clintons. They had family members speak of pretty much everyone in the Democratic Party, or at least the power hitters of the group. So as of right now, we've seen everyone we need to see. We're waiting on the final nomination, and this would make it easier. This is Governor of Massachusetts. I guess we'll give her a listen. Let's see what she's talking about.
Prosecutor, to serve not only our clients in the courtroom, but our community and our country, to give people a sense of security and safeguard the principles that hold our nation together, to stand up to abusers and bullies, and stand up for the voiceless and the vulnerable. In other words, exactly what Kamala Harris has done her whole life. When she was DA, mothers of children who'd been murdered, whose cases had gone cold, would come to her office saying, "I'll only speak to Kamala," because they knew she would listen, because they knew she would help them find justice. And she did. That's the Kamala Harris I know. A few weeks ago in Massachusetts, I watched a little girl meet the vice president. Her eyes were so wide, as open as the future. Kamala asked her about the summer, her basketball camp, and what position she likes to play. The little girl said to her, "Anything but defense." Kamala put her hand on her shoulder and replied, "Me too. I love offense." That's what it means to be for the people. Kamala Harris fights for all Americans. She stays on offense and she wins. And I know that she'll fight with the same passion, the same determination as President of the United States. I can't wait to see her prosecute the case against Donald Trump on the debate stage in September. We face a stark choice in this election: a felon and con man, or a dedicated prosecutor. The contrast between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is clear. He obstructs justice. She upholds it. He swindles people. She serves them. He thinks he's above the law. She actually understands the law. That's what this election comes down to. One candidate who's out for himself, or Kamala Harris for the people. It's a battle for the future of our nation. And tonight, we will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Kamala Harris should be, she must be, the next President of the United States. Thank you.
Please welcome survivor and advocate Courtney Baldwin.
Good evening, Chicago. I'm Courtney Baldwin. In 2013, I was sold for sex in cities across California by a trafficker who controlled every aspect of my life. During those dark moments, I held on to hope that one day I'd be seen as more than a victim, that I could pursue my dreams, and that my trafficker will be held justice. I didn't know it yet, but waiting for me on the other side were people who were fighting for survivors. One of them was Kamala Harris. As California's Attorney General, she fought Backpage.com, the website that let me and thousands of others be bought and sold. She filed criminal charges against its owner that shut down the website for good. No one has ever done that. Vice President Harris is fearless, compassionate, and she still gives me hope. She's protected people like me her whole life, and I know she'll fight for us all as president. Thank you.
We have to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's the only way to beat the Phoenix heat. It's just like opening an oven. I work on the light rail. It's a good way to tackle the climate crisis, but the clock is ticking.
Climate change is one of the greatest con jobs ever. All of this with the global warming and and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax.
Hurricane Beryl is the earliest Category 5 on record.
I'm back. Let me get my face in there. Bam, there I go. All right, guys, slow night so far. Like I said, it starts off very slow. The DNC doesn't have a lot of speakers, people. Like, I gotta understand, it ain't many people that they can really put up there that the crowd really care about. Like, a lot of people you're gonna see from here on out are just family and representatives of the Democratic Party. You're not going to see too many big names anymore. You've already seen most of them. Hell, the Clintons, the Obamas came out. We've seen Hochul. We've seen Hakeem Jeffries. We've seen pretty much everybody we need to see in the Democratic Party. They're just drawing this out, and I'm just doing my due diligence tonight. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm kind of tired of it, though. The DNC kind of does suck ass, though. Not because of like the obvious reasons, but because people still believe this stuff, and the way they're selling it is just, like I said all week, it's bread and circus. And when you make things bread and circus, it takes away, because people are more in tune to the affair of it, the feel of it. It makes them feel good, makes them feel strong, it makes them feel together. And this can be said about the Republican Party. Please don't think that they're absolved from this too. They do it differently. They don't do it like, you know, Democrats do it. Like, they have their rally, they have their concerts, they have their music, but again, a Republican National Convention, and I would assume, is like going to an Alabama game. If you understand, you understand. They get along on one solid thing. They may not agree on everything about the Republican Party, but they are the Republican Party, and they are that. They just celebrate different. You're more expected to have a barbecue, the kids outside Trump rally, you know, Bud Light in the air, Trump. Like, that's kind of his crowd. Now, I'm not saying there's no middle class people who are just, you know, regular human beings. I'm not making fun of just the poverty of it. It is funny though. It's just that both sides have this identity politics thing going right now. And if you understand what the identities are, it makes it easier to see where they're leaning with this. I guess that's the best way to put that, right? So, all right, we talked about it last night, right? So let's start with the left. The identity politics this year are gonna be woman of color, sororities, HBCUs, LBGTQ, whatever, and neoliberal ideas. Very left-thinking people who still think that this shit is running how it's supposed to run, and it's not. All right, that's typically your extreme left. Now you'll get your centrist left, you know, and then you'll get your centrist right. But when we talk about the extreme right, in some cases, not all, the left and the right is not one color. They're all multicolored people, all walks of life. You have Mexicans rooting for Trump. You have blacks rooting for Trump, like you got blacks rooting for Kamala. The identity that changes with Trump is that now it becomes personal identity instead of racial identity. Now, if you have like felonies, 3 baby mamas, you've been shot at, you believe in America, which there's nothing wrong in believing in America, honest, clean America. There's nothing wrong with that. And you believe in freedom. Those are the 5 things that pretty much put Trump supporters in their category. And then you have the centrist, which, depending on how the wind blows, they can go either anyway. Now, me, on the other hand, I like to stand outside and watch it from a distance. All right. See you guys coming in. Hey, thanks, Lynn. Appreciate that. Yes, I can see your message. I see you. You guys are on the screen. So I got it up there, so I had to plug that in to my browser, to my software, and put it on the screen so you can see yourself and everyone gets acknowledged, and I can kind of keep an eye on the Rumble chat too, like I can keep an eye on my other chats. Oh yeah, Chris, I figured it was you. You didn't even have to explain. It's okay. I got it. I already knew. I could feel your vibe. Feel the pettiness in the air. I felt the pettiness change in the room. Appreciate you guys coming on in. Come hang out with me. You know, last night was fun in Facebook, but you know, Facebook is a party pooper. They're not feeling us. Again, before you guys got in here, I did mention the fact that Facebook didn't take down my Trump rally show that I did. They didn't take down when I shared the UN General Assembly in New York when we covered the UN. They didn't take that down. Like, they didn't take down all the debates. Why didn't you take down the debates? They didn't take the debates down. But the one time we sit here and have a joke on the Democrat expense, now we're wrong. Now we're wrong right now. Okay? So just think about that. We get hit with intellectual copyright because we made fun of the Democrats. We have done this on every other platform. We've done this on every other political stand, debates, UN, all this stuff, right? And never got hit for something. So the fact that we got hit for that last night, and I knew it. Listen, I told my brother last night, right, before I got off the show, he had called me while, you know, we were listening to a speech and I wasn't on the screen or whatever, clearly. Right? And he was like, yeah, man, this is a good show, this and that. We were talking about TikTok, how they took me down. And I was like, yeah, at least Facebook, you know, they'll let me get my views and do my show. Then they'll take my shit down. And I'd be damned. I woke up 7 this morning, 7:30ish, looked in my phone. The whole show's gone. Like, damn, they really did that. They deleted it at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I mean, at this point, I was like, well, shit, it must have been a really good show. That's all I can say, man. It was a damn good show. I enjoyed it. John Russell, content creator. Now, look, this is something I've been wanting to talk about with y'all, all right? Now, a lot of your favorite content creators are paid shills, as you would say, Republican and Democrat. Okay? Now, the Democratic Party has way more TikTok followers than anything. Like, a lot of their stuff is basically TikTok. As much as they hate TikTok, they have a huge influence with a lot of young creators on there because they have a lot of young influence. And we always talk about influence with the Democratic Party. Their main thing is via celebrities. They don't want to be the face of the influence. Oh, okay. Sorry. Heard some. Oh, sorry. I had heard something else. Bluetooth disconnected. All right. So we're good. All right. So what was I saying? Oh, the content creators. So the content creators are actually paid Democrats or paid Republican proxy influence groups. And it's not hard to tell because a lot of them are heavy. If you go on TikTok, yo, they're pushing the shit out of Trump and this whole debacle with him. And then if you look at the left with them, they're doing the same thing. Like, it's insane how much they're actually like pushing content creators and pushing the Democratic message. Like, they'll take like a conspiracy theory that's kind of left centered, and the content creators will go on there and be like, well, there's no way this and that, woo doo woo, and kind of deflect the situation away from the party. This is happening on both sides. This goes into Operation Pogo, Operation Zephyr. David Goldstein, he talked about that in 2019 before he died. He did his last interview. He talked about the tag tracking ID system, and I think the tag tracking ID system is TikTok. I'm not even going to front. Think about it. Like, Facebook has stolen the little tags that TikTok put in their videos. They do that on Instagram now. So anything that you're pulling from content creators now has their tag in it, and they're basically saying the same content creators that you're getting the information from, these same content creators are Fed boys. So when you pull the video, and then what do? You do like I do, right? Repurpose it, put it on your page, and you're showing it, right? Now you can see the little tag in it, and I know where it came from no matter what. No matter where this video goes, you cannot take this little trademark tag out of it. This goes back to the tag tracking ID, and he was talking about the YouTubers and how they were using the YouTubers to tag and track. This is like old YouTube, when they were like always, YouTube was heavy with conspiracies early in the, mid 2010s, mid 2000s, 2010, 2011 area. And of course, everything was littered with conspiracies by the time we got to the 2010s. So naturally, a lot of people's information was coming from that. So now on the tag tracking ID scheme, the content creators are the tag. So as soon as you share their information, you're being tracked. And it's usually the people that you're questioning the information and how they're able to put this kind of information out without getting flagged. You guys see me a lot. Like, I'm just a regular person. Like, I'm not out here, it's just, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's the best way I could put it. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to formulate this right, okay? When you see these content creators and they're giving out like information that seems way truthful, more truthful than like the story's true, but you're hearing something that you've never heard before, and you're wondering where they're getting this information from. They're being given information by the Fed boys, and they're gonna leak it, right? So everything that we're talking about, they already know it's been leaked. Anything that we think we're sharing, it's not new. That's the idea. It's all recycled information. And the Democrats are one of the biggest proponents of it. All right. Now, I'm not saying the right is not big on this, but we do know that a lot of the Fed boys are not saying left-leaning, but they're weird enough to be that. Like, they're not too far off from following these people. And when we mention the deep state, we understand that the deep state has a plan that everyone's talking about. Now, the big sham of this, it could be that all of it's just misinformation. Just made to like get us riled up and get the reaction that they want, because they're not gonna do this on their own. They gotta scare the shit out of us via blue beam or via some type of coordinated attack, 9/11 string tugging kind of situation. And this is depending on who wins the election. Now, they say if the right loses, then the right's going to revolt. And if they say the left loses, the left is going to revolt. So what they're saying is we're in a lose-lose situation. And the only thing that we're supposed to be able to do is that we're going to sit here and suffer so badly that we're going to beg for the cure. Hegelian dialect, as you guys would tell me, right? Create the problem, let our reaction go too far, then give us the solution that was going to kill us regardless. This whole thing that we've been talking about, the left and the right, again, I always make it very known and clear. These motherfuckers ain't that. Please don't think like we're buying into this. This is just covering the deep state and having a good time on a long weekday. A long week too, man. It's Thursday. I'm sure you guys, if you guys are working 9 to 5, hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do till you get out the system. Relax tonight, get you a drink, roll up, pull out your favorite cigar, pull out your guilty pleasure, a scoop of ice cream or a candy bar or something healthy, I hope. Nothing, you know, full of poison and stuff like that, but I get it. It's a long week, you just want to relax, you want a good laugh, you want to shoot the shit, all right? Let's shoot the shit. Coming up, we got Pink and Mark Kelly. We're going to tune in for Mark Kelly. I'm going to give Mark Kelly a little bit of space to talk. I'm going to hear him out, because I used to live in Arizona, so I know, like, we got a taste of Mark Kelly in Arizona, and I'm not really fond of him either, just because Arizona's kind of shitty now. I don't know if I have any Arizona listeners, but when we left Arizona, Arizona was getting expensive. We're talking like $2,000 for rent, and that was for an apartment. Houses were like $2,400 rent. Like, we were getting ready to try to get our house, and then COVID happened, shit skyrocketed, and we were just getting outbidded by people. We weren't trying to pay $50,000 over for a house made of stucco and styrofoam and plywood. Just, you know, let's be real, man. The economy got real weird in 2020, and it forced us back to Alabama. So this is why I'm here. But in Arizona, I'm not going to front. I was very fond of Arizona before they got very democratic. And I'm not going to say that they've always had I wouldn't call it a democratic issue, but they've always had like a homeless issue and a migrant issue. When I say migrant, like if you've ever been to Phoenix or a major city, the homelessness is fucking insane. I'm not gonna lie, yo. Everywhere in Phoenix, there's homeless people. Like, and I mean like in the droves, like regulars. Like these people are everywhere. It is insane how many homeless people there are. Like, we went back home to Arizona like 2021 to visit for family reunion and stuff. And hey, so check this. This gentleman's from Mobile, Alabama. This guy went to the same high school as me. I'm gonna go ahead and let him talk.
I am running for Alabama's 2nd Congressional District. This is the district that gave America the Tuskegee Airmen, Rosa Parks, Fred Gray, and it is the birthplace of the civil rights movement in Montgomery, Alabama. And of course, this district is home to Mr. Good Trouble himself, Congressman John Lewis. Look, my pathway to this stage was paved by a legacy of fighters. Fighters that include my mother, Alabama State Senator Vivian Davis Figures, who is here at her 11th DNC. And it also includes my father, my late father, Michael Figures, who was also a state senator and civil rights lawyer who sued the Klan into bankruptcy. Listen, all of America, all of us owe a debt to courageous freedom fighters, both known and unknown, a debt that can never be repaid.
Check this out. State Farm was charging me $179 for auto insurance per month. No, thank you.
Kamala Harris gets this. She's working to protect our freedoms every single day. And that's why she will sign into law the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Act once it is introduced again by Congresswoman Terry Sewell. Listen, America, a California poet named Kendrick Lamar recently reminded us that sometimes we gotta pop out and show up. Well, America, it's time we pop out and vote. It's time we pop out from California to Alabama and all across America, and we show them that we are not going back. We are going forward, and we are going forward with Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America. Thank you. God bless you. Roll Tide. Let's go win this thing.
As I close out my segment tonight, I gotta send a quick message. Madrecita querida, I love you. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz understand what everyday Americans are going through because unlike Donald Trump.
All right, enough of her. All right, so to be honest, that gentleman, Shamari Figures, graduated 2 years before me. We both went to John L. LaFleur. I didn't know him like that. I'm not going to give any speech like, oh man, we used to kick it. Nope, not at all. But his family have been in politics since we've known his father. Is the story behind him is that the young man, Michael Donald, was lynched in 1985 or 1986. I can't remember. But it happened in Mobile, Alabama, and they lynched him in a main section of a black neighborhood. His father was the prosecuting attorney on that case and ended up bankrupting the Klan. He's the one that actually took down the Klan in the South. You guys can check like history and all that. Like they did a whole biop on this dude. But yo, that's 3 generations of politics right there. Something to think about when I told you last night that these people, these young people that you see in 10, 20 years, they're going to be our senators and our governors and our representatives and our chairholders, and eventually one of them's going to make president. Someone in this crowd is going to eventually make president. Why? Because that's how it plays out. So with this whole situation, you guys got to understand this is why we're watching. Now, before I switch the subject, we're going to get back on subject of this, but when I was in Phoenix, like the homeless numbers, we had a homeless district downtown Phoenix, like right behind the courthouse, and it's gone now. Last time we were down there, they said it's been removed. They've moved them to somewhere else, like the same thing they did in San Francisco, where they hid the homeless people. They did that in Phoenix too. So just know that it ain't just like San Francisco that's hiding homeless people. Shit, man, it's a lot of cities hiding homeless people right now. Like I'm hearing all about the encampments being shut down, and I told you guys about that months ago. They were gonna have the money for the encampments. This is part of the Cloward-Piven strategy. We've talked about this. They were gonna do the encampments, and then all of a sudden the money would run out, and then them people were going to be outside, and it's a matter of time. This is the first year of the encampments being closed down, so it hasn't taken hold yet. This is why I think we make it through whatever this election is supposed to be. I don't think they're going to turn the lights out just yet. I just don't see that just yet because the plan isn't ready. They're not completely ready. Now if they're desperate, they'll turn the damn lights off, and that's both sides. If they just know they have no choice, they'll do it. But if they can't, then I still think that this plays out. That's just my opinion. I think we get to 2025, but we're gonna see some shit in 2025 though. It's gonna be pretty fucking difficult. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be anything. It's going to be really, really difficult. So I think we get through this. I don't think they cut the lights out. I think we have the election. I think we're going to have some type of election scandal. I think we're going to see some type of protest or riot come the inauguration. That's just my opinion. We're going to start seeing more intense events. I've always told you guys, a web of events. It's always a web of events, small little events, and they just trigger other big events. We think it's just one big event, and it's not. This event's been brewing for so long that now that it's happened, shit, we can't come back from it. Right now, we can come back from some things, but what they're pushing for and what we understand from all these New World Order agendas and executive orders and emergency orders from the UN, like, we know that they got something mapped out for us if we get out of pocket. This is why I say don't get out of pocket. Only if you have to. Now, if you got to get out of pocket, get out of pocket. This man's last name is Sicknick. It's weird. Say it out loud. Sicknick. If push come to shove, and it's true that some of these migrants are terror cells, then you're gonna have to do what you gotta do. By all means, go dark and handle business. It ain't a war crime if it's the first time. And that's just the truth. I'm not telling you to go out there and get crazy. I'm saying in the event that something intense happens, it is your duty to meet that with the same energy for your sake and livelihood. There's nothing wrong with that. That's all I'm saying. I just think that whatever they got lined up is going to be based on us. It's always going to be based on us. So we got to be careful with these encampments. We got to be careful with these migrants because we're hearing the stories in New York. I heard this today. I saw it on Algier, that network, that people in New York are reporting that they're being followed home in groups, and it's called like group stalk, not gang stalking. It's not like gang stalking. It's basically like pack hunting for like robbers. Like they find out where you live and then they'll bombard you. I've been seeing videos on the news of migrants acting as Amazon delivery drivers and forcing their way into people's homes. I'm not saying these things haven't happened. I'm just saying there's an influx of them now that we have 10 to 15 million extra people here that we don't know nothing about. So whatever's happening is happening in it. And I always point to the Cloward Piven strategy just because it basically outlines how you're going to destabilize the government or the system through welfare and social services. Like welfare and SNAP and WIC and giving people cell phones and paying rent, giving people $15,000. Like, you gotta understand, these migrants are getting paid, laced, big boy money, buku money, big bands, stacks, as the young people would call them. Okay? So understand that whatever's happening, these people that are living outside, the ones we see outside like that, those are the ones that are the problem because they're doing too well outside. You see the new stealing methods, you know, the ride on the moped and then they snatch your shit and ride off. They're doing that in New York. They've been doing that with civilians, but that's more of a thing that you see in Central America. We aren't really too big on that. We just walk up and steal your shit and run. True. You're seeing more of these events in major cities with the scooters and how they're coordinating attacks on people. You're hearing about the police getting beat up. Man, ever since 2020, man, whatever they did, whatever button they hit, it did a number on everybody. Because now America does not seem like America. And to be fair, America really has never seemed like America. We've had the American dream, and that's exactly what the fuck it is. It's a dream. But what I'm saying is that dream is a nightmare in real life. Like, this place is fucking rough. This is ghetto here. If I was aliens, I would roll my window up too. I wouldn't come here. Run down there and look like, oh my God, what? They're fucking eating each other down there. They're weirdos. Man, I wouldn't be dealing with humans either if I was some superior advanced species. We out here trying to figure out what a girl and a boy is still. Come on. And is sitting here with this Democratic National Convention, and then we're going to turn back around sometime this week and catch a Trump rally. It's going to be the same exact feel. It does not switch. It does not change. It's the same bread and circus. It's just a different color. And I would like to think that at some point, Americans aren't falling for this shit. We just can't be falling for this anymore. Our groceries are high, rent's high. I saw a comment in the section. They said, what is it, like a studio apartment was fucking $1,000. A studio? And I believe it, because Phoenix is stupid high right now. I don't know how anyone's affording that damn city right now. If you are affording Phoenix, you clearly are either selling drugs or you're just hustling. You're working 60 hours a week now, because the $15 an hour at 40 hours a week ain't cutting it. And that was like the base pay out there. Damn all the minimum wage. The base pay in Phoenix for most careers and jobs out there is about $15 an hour. That shit wasn't too bad in 2016, but by 2020, 2021, that shit was like $7.25. They cut that in half completely. Now, as we look at this screen, you get bread and circus, right? Like, these are things that you're not going to see at the DNC too much. Not the DNC, the RNC. Like, this is what we're talking about when we say they got to keep the crowd going. See all the little flags they're giving out? They got to keep the bread and circus, because they don't have they don't have the balls like the Republicans do. The Republicans have a good time at their rallies. They don't need this extra stuff. They're hopped up on Bud Light, America, and Trump. So they're good. They ain't tripping. But when you come to the DNC, you're going to get this because of the culture of who they're talking to. Kamala's from a HBCU. Drum lines. Not saying white people don't have drum lines, but we're more of a show band style on that side. I was in the band too. So I understand the marketing ploys that they're aiming with. Like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just, you got to understand it's identity shit. Like, they're keeping the energy going. Drums. Remember the rituals. People beat drums in rituals, people. It's just too damn obvious. But this is how we work, though. This is our America. This is what we're dealing with. All I could tell you is do not comply, and you better not consent. And for you new people who are meeting me for the first time, hey guys, do not comply. That's my message for the new people. Like, you know, they're like, what kind of guy is he? Do not comply. That's the kind of guy that I am. Do not comply again. Okay? Listen, at some point, we have to say no. We have to say, I do not consent. We have to say, nope, I'm not doing this stupid shit with y'all this week. Nope. Nope. When they do Project Bluebeam, because that's on the table. That's part of the bringing the system in. We're gonna scare the shit out of us so bad that we're gonna be like, oh my God, Jesus has come back, or whoever they're gonna put in the sky, and they're gonna do the voice to skull technology. I know I'm saying a lot of things right now. These are things that I've talked about. So if you're meeting me for the first time, just bear with me, okay? Voice to skull technology is real. Bluebeam is the second coming of Jesus in the sky, but it's fake. That's what the Miami incident was this past summer, or was that last summer? Last summer. I think that was last summer, where they had the aliens in the mall. Whatever. That was Bluebeam too. Ain't nobody see nothing in damn Miami. Ain't nobody see no damn aliens. You can pay people to say they saw shit. It's called crisis actors. Okay? So I just want to get that out there. There are a couple plans to usher this in. One of them is Bluebeam. The other one is Zephyr and Pogo via Project Blackjack when they do the coordinated attack. I talked about that one too. That's the comic book strip from the Independent UK, whatever the fuck that was. All right. Who's coming up? We got Gabby Giffords from Arizona. We may let Gabby talk. And then we got Mark Kelly, and then former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta. All right. Again, these names aren't sexy. All right. It's not like the Republican Party. Republicans are just a little bit sexier when they come out. They've already given out their big ones. Obama's, the Clintons, already had Schumer, they already had Pelosi. They already had Elizabeth Warren. And I feel like, isn't Elizabeth Warren the same woman who says she was like 1/16 Native American? Is that her? I feel like that's her. Anywho, she talked. She wasn't talking about shit. Oh, they had Bernie Sanders too. Bernie Sanders came out day 2 and gave his speech against big corporations and big pharma. I like to think that Bernie isn't complete full of shit, but I like to say too, all this big pharma and big corporation talk is pointless to me if that's who's funding all of this. Like, they keep saying we're gonna go after big pharma and big tech and big whatever, but they have all the control. They're doing everything. God damn it, they're banning us on all the platforms right now. I can't even fucking fart on Facebook without getting flagged for something. I'm getting flagged for asking y'all to put rabbits in my comments on my Facebook page right now. I got flagged 3 times for that. So at this point, that should pretty much tell you where Facebook is at with me. They're pretty much choking everyone out, all content creators. They want them to make 1-minute videos about absolutely nothing. They don't want long form videos anymore. They don't want 3-4 minute videos anymore. They don't want that. They want people with short attention spans who take a little bit of information and they have the scrolling disease where they just scroll and they don't get to nothing. Like, they're making people mindless and dumb. And this is part of it. All these people believe in this shit. Look at this. Look at this. These people believe in this shit. All these celebrities in here, these people probably got paid to come in here. I don't know how true that is. I've never been to a rally because I'm not intrigued by going to political rallies. What I'm saying is that the celebrities in there are just pushing an agenda and they're probably getting paid from their management agency for this shit. We know the artists are getting paid because shit, the artists they got really ain't had a hit in a while, and they had John Legend on there, and we know he's on Epstein's client list, so that shit ain't nothing new. They got Pink tonight. I mean, Pink, whatever. They're gonna have a concert and make it feel all good and shit. But I'm telling you now, man, for the people that are believing this shit on both sides, I need you to absolutely stop it. I need you to cut it out. It's unfair. It's unfair what you're doing to us right now. You're making us sit through this shit. We keep electing presidents that aren't doing a damn thing for us. You guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this shit show that we're watching right now. I can only tell you this. No matter who wins, we lose. You guys hear me? No matter who wins, we lose. I think the beast system's coming regardless. I think transhumanism is coming regardless. I'm pretty sure, like, they've already figured out how to take a soul out of a body and put it in another body. I'm pretty convinced. I talked about that last night too, about the NPCs. Talked about that. These people, these presidents, these people might not even, Kamala Harris might not even be who Kamala Harris really is. She could be possessed for all we know. There's Tim Walz. Tim Walz could be the next vice president for Minnesota, as I've heard. They call him Tampon Tim. So this is where we're at. I don't know who. We're going to have a long night of just watching them and enjoying this. And it's heartbreaking for me to watch just because I want more from the American people. I'm going to be honest. You want to hear my gripe? This is my gripe. Here's my gripe. The American people keep asking for someone to save them and fix something. And it's not entirely on them to fix it. It is entirely on them to fix the mess that they've created for us. But as far as us, it's on us to maintain our lives. Now, I'm not against government. I'm not against a little bit of order and restraint and, I guess saying police. I'm not against having police officers. What I'm against is having homicidal police officers. What I'm against is having satanic leadership. What I'm against is conniving, thieving leadership. Like, if these people actually did their job and we governed ourselves and then you had the police to keep order, I don't have a problem with people keeping order because some people need help. It's some fucked up people running around out here and they need a little assistance to not lose their shit. It happens. And yes, a lot of this is part of the Democrats' fault. Like I said that the Democrats, in a sense, allow people to do a lot of things and feel free and liberated, but mentally, they're sicker. And on the right, you get a lot of ethics and morals and God and country, but shit, man, they can't stay out of war. They love the MIC. They love the contracts. They love the DOD sponsorships. They love like going into countries and pillaging and getting the resources or getting the DOD reconstruction contracts. So the fact that we're sitting here trying to figure out who's gonna fuck us the less, we're still getting effed hard. Just fuck it. We're getting fucked. Pause. But still, think about this. We're playing a game. We're electing people to rob us and poison us. All the resources we've given to Ukraine and Israel, we could have easily fixed homelessness, child hunger in America, Flint's water, we could have fixed Texas's infrastructure and their grid a long time ago with all the stuff that we've sent over to those countries. We could have fixed that. We actually could have afforded to actually give all veterans health care, proper health care, and compensate them for it. That's how much money we've given away to other countries in aid. Whether it's resource, asset, or just cold hard cash, we've given it away when we could have just easily taken care of what needs to be taken care of here. But for some reason, that shit's too hard. That's like asking for the right thing or asking for too much. Think about this. And then the reporting error that the audit in the Pentagon has, they lost another $2 trillion. You remember last time they lost $2 trillion? What happened? Well, guess what? They reported that they lost $2 trillion again this year. And guess what? Guess what? Looks like we're overdue. I'm not saying when, I'm not saying where. I've told you my theory. I do believe it's going to be a coordinated attack. That's just my opinion. I think they're trying to scare people with the monkeypox right now and the parvovirus and the bubonic plague. I do think that they're trying to force an emergency. But when we talk about the big show, there's going to be a big show because they don't like to completely fake stuff. They'll lie to you on a false flag. The intent is what they're lying about, but the act itself is going to go through. Again, 9/11 actually happened. They didn't fake that. Like they really did that. And people really lost their lives. And a lot of people are holding that theory near and dear to them that it ain't what we think it is. And I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying if you're a thinking person, if you've gone through the Warren Report and you've seen the documentaries and you've done your own research, heavy, real research, cross-references, analytical thinking, you would probably come to the same conclusion that everyone else has come to about that situation that happened, 9/11. So if we know that's coming or that's a thing, then the last time we had a $2 trillion loss, something bad happened. And this time, something bad could happen again. And both sides are playing the game. It's not like one side's not a part of it. I told someone, I think it was a couple days ago, someone on my page was like, everything you said hasn't happened. I was like, I get it. Because you can't see the evidence, there means there should be no problem. Like, if you can't prove that it's not happening or it is happening, then it's not happening. And that's not exactly how life fucking works. Like, there's a lot of things happening that you don't know is happening at this current moment. That does not make it less true. Just means you don't know what the fuck is going on around you. That's all it is. Who is this? Are they singing? Oh, the chicks. The Dixie Chicks? Wasn't that them from back in the day? Or is that another group? Not the Dixie Chicks? The Winn-Dixie Chicks? Going to the store? Can you bring me something to drink back? And a bag of chips? Thank you. It's my wife. Just walking out. We're gonna be like, I didn't see this shit coming. We're gonna be in the back like, I told you. I told you. I told you. You didn't listen. You didn't believe it. Now it's here. And now you're like, I never saw it coming. But all the people who follow conspiracy theories and who believe in damn logic and have common sense and can use rational thinking and subjective thinking and critical thinking will sit here and be like, yeah. There was a lot of breadcrumbs that was leading up to this. And like, we're going to come out with receipts and we're going to be like, see, I told you. And they're going to be like, I don't believe it. Fake news. And be like, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, is this shit a sickness? Even presented with the fact that your government has done wrong, people still believe that the government is working in their favor. I said it last night and I said it the night before. There's enough in history that's true that should tell you that you shouldn't trust them. I'm gonna say it again. There's enough in history that is true and you shouldn't trust them. All right, now we got Kerry Washington coming out. We got another actress coming out. If you know who Kerry Washington is, you've seen her movies. She was in with Chris Rock, Why I Think I Love My Wife. She was in Django with Jamie Foxx. She does like the face when she's crying. She's a great actress, beautiful woman. She's a Democrat. She's part of the Hollywood puppetry. But we're not going to listen to her talk. Don't worry. I'm not cutting the volume up on her. Don't nobody want to hear that. Now, you guys let me know in the comments. When does the first event actually happen? For the 2024 election, or do we get it in 2025? I personally think we see it in 2025. That's my prediction. I think we're going to see it in 2025, and we're going to see 3 forms of it. Why? Because that's what Operation or Project Blackjack, whichever one that was, that's the one that had the comic book strip, and it was like 3 different events that transpired. And I'm thinking that's what they're going to do, because it's predictive programming, right? And they like to put their messages out in little comic book strips and news articles and stuff like that, right? Right. So if that's the case, then I would safely assume, just my assumption, that they're going to put boots on ground in America. When I say boots on ground, I'm talking about the migrants. And I think the migrants, not saying all of them, I think the migrants are not what they seem. And that's going to be the problem, because those are the people destabilizing our country right now, in my opinion. Sure, there's sleeper cells, there's terrorist organizations in America. But in my honest, humble opinion, I'm telling you, I personally think the migrants are going to be the whole problem. If they're not the whole problem, great. But I just don't see 10, 15 million people coming over here and they're all good people. That's like if you have say you throw a Christmas party at your house and you let 100 people in you don't know. I guarantee 10 to 20% of them are probably going to steal from you. You might have a serial killer in your house. You might have a rapist walking around in there now. You don't know, because you just opened your door and let people in. You don't know these people. So naturally, when you want to throw a party and not die at your own party, you at least bring people that you think aren't going to kill you or poison you or rob you or do you harm. Now, insert that with crossing the American border and why Americans are so tight right now about who's coming through. And y'all remember the Muslim dude that was on TikTok and he was telling people, you don't know my name, but you'll know it very soon. And he just so happened to be like an Iranian terrorist or some shit. Yeah, they never caught that dude. That dude's still walking around America right now. I'm pretty convinced that man is still walking around America. There's a lot of people walking around America that should not be walking around America. It's bad enough we got Americans walking around America that shouldn't be walking around America. We have people who are not from here. We have Chinese, we have Russian, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Lebanon. We have most of the third world countries here. Most of them are here. They are all throwing their money at the borders and leaving their money and taking the American cash, the cell phones, and they're going forward. They're getting housing, they're getting food, they can buy guns, and they're getting ready to vote. Do you understand these people are going to vote? They said the Democrats want them to vote. This is not made up. This is real, people. The Democrats are doing everything in their power to get these people to vote. There's a reason for this. They're pulling out all the stops. Look at the children and the actresses and the musicians, all while Chicago is running amok. There is shit going on outside of this that you are not seeing right now. There are pro-Palestinian proxy groups running around right now. I told you, those are not real protesters. Not all of them. A lot of those are paid proxy groups. Every time they get the clearance for 12,000, 20,000 marches. Who's giving these people permits so quickly? Ask these questions, people. You guys gotta ask these questions. This is why I say, for the people who are buying this, there's gonna be a rude awakening when you realize the DNC is full of shit. And there's going to be a rude awakening on the right when they realize the RNC is fucking shit. They're full of shit too. They've been full of shit. They're the same bird. That's why I keep saying, F that bird. But no, we keep sitting here playing this game. Who is this? Welcome Nina Harris, Ella Emhoff, and Emma Hudman. Oh. All right, anyway. Don't fall for it. That's all my commentary is tonight. Sure, we're here to laugh, enjoy. We're watching them. It's very dry. They're not really putting out anyone, but I'm covering. You guys are hanging out with me. This we just got to do better, guys. The fact that we had Joe Biden in office should have told you where America was heading. It was bad enough. Listen, we actually haven't had a solid president in our favor since Kennedy. And I told you last night, that wasn't supposed to happen the way it did, but it happened the way it had to happen. He wasn't supposed to do that, in my opinion. I think he was supposed to get in there, follow the course, fuck with the Fed Reserve, get them pushed further. Help out that special group of people, you know, the CIA, he's supposed to be friends. He's supposed to go to war with Cuba. He was supposed to do a lot of things. They wanted him to do a lot of things and he wouldn't do it. And that's why he's gone. Ever since then, every president has fallen in line. I mean, they shot Reagan. I'm not sure why they shot Reagan, but Reagan sold cocaine to America. So I feel like he clearly wasn't in our favor. And he was a horrible actor. He's a horrible cowboy. Worst cowboy I've ever seen. Just telling you the truth. There hasn't been a president that's actually been in America's favor. It just seems like they're in our favor. Bush Jr. was just a chimp with a toy. That's why when you look at Epstein, that painting, and you see Bush Jr. playing with his little blocks, that's why. Because Bush Jr. is a fucking child, man. He's not capable of running a country. He ran the Texas Rangers into the ground. The man's not capable of running a country. Just, it is what it is, man. That's fuck. Obama while he came in as a bright ray of light and people bought into that and all the yes we can and change is coming, yeah, there was some change you wasn't expecting. A whole lot of change. Seems like he pushed his own little narrative. We got D.L. Hewley, another celebrity, one of the kings of comedy, staple in the black community. He has his own radio show on 104.9, I think, or 104.5. He's a huge Democrat. Huge Democrat. If you say anything else about Democrats, that man will jump down your neck. He's a huge Democrat. And if you look at the pin on his chest and you see that purple hanging out, remember this man is a Q dog, if I'm not mistaken. He's part of the Divine Nine. Part of the Divine Nine. Honorary Divine Nine. All right. So these guys, more likely the Black Boule, understand this is where the secret society conversation comes in at. This is where we start talking about the Black Boule and you know, the Illuminati, quote unquote, if that's what you want to call them. But that's that. That's what celebrities are to them. They're just means of influence. They have a very, very metrosexual in-between feel to them. They always wear women's glasses. I'm not saying they're not men's glasses. I'm just saying the stuff that they make them wear makes them look less masculine. And for some reason, that's just how the Democrats are and the men in the Democratic Party are. There's nothing wrong with being gay. I'm just saying, like, but for some reason, there's a huge thing about, you know, emasculating the man and making him less masculine. And it's a lot of, it's a spiritual warfare thing. I'm not going to get too far into it. I just understand that, you know, they're playing a spiritual warfare game. A lot of the chemicals is killing the man's testosterone right now. Men's testosterone is probably lowest that it's ever been. Like, and that's proven with the way men are carrying themselves right now. So I always say it's a multifaceted plan when we talk about how the deep state networks and how they operate and in which the means they can do these things. Emasculate men, you know, make them seem softer, kind of like the way, if you've seen Hunger Games, remember how all the dudes looked in the Hunger Games and they were like all makeup and colored hair and kind of fucking weird? It's the same idea. Like, the Democrats are really kind of on that kind of time. That's why it's so weird to me, and maybe to the rest of you, that we see the change happening, and when we say something about it, we're getting labeled as conspiracy theorists. We're like, you're just what's it, xenophobic? Or you're a bigot. That's what they typically call people that aren't accepting of everything. It's not that I'm not accepting. I'm just saying, why do we have to do all of this? It's a bit much. That's all I'm saying. So the Democratic Party is one of those parties where they're bending this gender line really badly. And if you know about California, the gender assignment for children is a real thing, to where the parents, if they tell the kids no, they can't do it, the state can take full control and go ahead and pay for the kids' gender reassignment. Like, you know how many people at a certain age thought they were something, and then they grew up and puberty kicked in and they were like, oh no, I didn't like that shit. I was just young and naive. Well, that's kind of what's going to happen to a lot of people who are going to like make really brash choices to gender reaffirm, and then later they're going to be like, I'm not healthy, or I'm not operating the same. Like, well, yeah, because you cut off the pieces that you were born with that made you you. So, thank you. You didn't get any chips? I said get some chips. No? You didn't get chips? Okay, go. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going back to the show. She forgot my chips. Sure. But the gender reaffirming thing that they're doing, they're basically letting people make the harsh decision at an early age to gender reassign, not knowing that they're going to get all kinds of ailments and get sick from it. Just like how they told you it's okay to do this and that, and now America has a huge mental health crisis. Like, that's not an accident. That's good. It's not an accident, guys. A lot of stuff looks like it's an accident, but if you look behind the scenes, you'll always find some type of testing and research, some type of drugs, some type of anything right now in the background that the Democrats are getting laced off of, because they're big proponents of big pharma. Never forget, for God's sakes, never forget 2020. They told people that they had to get booster shots to fly. And they were giving people free cheeseburgers and donuts for the jab. And they were giving people free ball game tickets, baseball. In Arizona, they were giving people Diamondback tickets if you had got the jab. Yep. They were giving people donuts. People were out here, movie tickets. And just 4 years later, everyone's seen the reports. Let's not act brand new. We've seen the reports, guys, that there's lawsuits happening. Overseas, they're talking about it now, like there's lawsuits happening, but they still keep pushing it on people. They just cleared the next batch of boosters for people. I'm not saying just fuck it, don't comply. I just said it. Do it if you want to. Do it if you want to. See what happens. I wouldn't do that shit. But I'm going to tell you to your face, do it if you want to. You're going to be highly upset with yourself. You're not going to feel right about it. And next time, they may actually get the sterilization that they want, because I think they're personally trying to sterilize people. That's just me. Don't mind me checking systems again. Just making forms. And last thing I need is my platforms getting, banished so early. Rumble, not so much. They're not. That's not my problem. Is with them. It's more or less with YouTube. All right. So, still can't say what I want to say on YouTube, but I can say do not comply. And if you trust them again, you're gonna be so upset with yourself. I assure you, you're gonna be very, very upset. I don't know what else to tell you. I keep saying it, and I don't want to scare people, but I do think that it matters. Like, do not comply. Think about what happened in 2020. Think about what all the Dems and the Republicans were doing the whole time we were sitting in the house scared shitless of the damn cold. Sitting here watching it, and then my critical thing, oh no, guys, and please don't forget, we were funding the Wuhan clinic. How do I know we were funding the Wuhan clinic? Because Biden stopped funding the Wuhan clinic as soon as he got in office. That was one of his first things that he stopped, was funding the Wuhan clinic. Crazy, right? Just crazy. So always know that it's not what we think it is. Trump's been selling this as the China virus. But again, how is China the enemy and they bought our debt? And they're buying out, and we let them buy land. And there was 3,000 police precincts in America, Chinese police precincts. So how is China the enemy and they got that much leeway in America? They had already said that they infiltrated all of our institutions. They've already said that. This is nothing new. None of this stuff is like false or fake news. I try not to do that. I try to make sure I give you the stuff that has been seen and is out there, even the stuff that people may not believe. But I can surely tell you, if China was really an issue, would we let them buy American land? Would we let them be in charge of our food distribution? Would we let them do all of our technology, knowing that they could put spyware and malware in all of our cell phones and pieces? And like, think about some of this stuff that they're telling you, that China's an issue, but we've been trading with China for like, when they get their freedom, 2003, 2004 from British rule, when China got its freedom. China's one of the fastest growing economies in world history. Ever since Britain let go of their control of China, China has done nothing but exceed expectations. I don't know how to, it's only been what's this, 2024? It's only been 20 years. They've only been a free country for 20 years. Think about that. And they're grown this much and they're that much of a threat, but we've sold our land to them. I know we have, because Kay Ivey is in a lawsuit with them right now in Alabama. And whoever's the governor of Mississippi is in a lawsuit with them also. They bought all the land by the military bases, and that's, thank you, I had to jog my mind. Has anyone been hearing about the drive-bys that have picked up at the military bases? Y'all don't find that strange? And this is going into what I was talking about. Imagine Chinese people buying land in front of bases or by bases, and then all of a sudden all the drive-bys at bases are going up. The numbers are shooting up out of the roof now. Like, you know what they're doing, right? So if anyone's ever deployed, and not saying that I've deployed in a fire zone, I haven't, but we get the same briefings in the Air Force, right? So typically what happens is somebody will come up to the gate, take shots at the gate, look at your response time, see how fast you respond, you click up, and you arm the base. And then they'll come back again and do it again and see how fast you respond that time. And then now they're seeing at the height after, what's your response. That is essentially what's happening at all the bases in America right now. All bases in America are getting all like random attacks, pop shots, drive-bys, people trying to get into the gate that don't speak any English, people jumping fences at the in the back of the flight line and stuff. Like, they're showing the vulnerabilities in the military bases as we speak. It's happening, but no one's really taking it serious because no one fucking believes this shit. Absolutely no one actually believes this shit is really going on. Like, it's happening. San Antonio just had their situation this past week where they had 2 drive-bys. They had to close the gate. And if you know what Lackland is home to the Air Force basic training. That's where I did my basic training at, and I did my tech school at the Medina Annex. You guys got to understand that these are real reports. This goes into the same. All right, if that doesn't tickle your pickle, fine. Here's another one. You heard about the oh God, the guy in North Carolina, Army General, Special Ops Army General, or Army Commander, Colonel, whatever. Chechen spy or Chechen guy sitting outside his house during a barbecue or whatever. Army officer goes up to him, checks him like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? The dude's across, taking pictures from a field. They get into it, have a shootout. Army General puts him down. He ends up beating the charges. Guess where the guy came from? Came from Chicago. Riddle me that shit. From a shady company that hired him to go down there and do that job. I'm not making this stuff up. I covered it. It's on my page. Go back to about April. I want to say April, May. It was warm. It was like springtime. Go back to about April, May-ish, I think. And I did the video. I did the report. I did all of that on that, right? So understand that these people are really out here doing ops right now. Like, for real. Like, there's no way around it. And the newest report that's come out now, the one that I was listening to today on Telegram about what we're talking about is the missing children, that now they've made another report that they've misplaced something like 100,000 children. Again. Excuse me. So it was 86,000 during Trump's shit, right? He lost 86,000 children, excuse me. Now we get to Biden's, he lost 100,000. And then somewhere in between Obama and Trump's tenure, there was like 500,000 children lost out of like CPS. If you understand how this is working, you would understand that the state owns those children. And while what I'm saying is technically horrible, the state shouldn't own anybody. But when a child loses its home or you go to prison, you're owned by the state. Or you go to the mental asylum, you're owned by the state. The state has precedence over everything over you. Unless you have like a legal representation, a family or something, most people don't. So you get stuck with the state. These kids are owned by the state. And these are the same kids, which I won't deny. Some of these kids are running away. I'm not going to deny that. Some of these kids are running away. They'll get their Social Securities and join the military. I've seen them. I can't say it's not true. There's a lot of people in the military because they didn't have a life before. And they had their Social Security card, their birth certificate, and they were 17 or 18 and they left. All you need is a GED. For any branch, it don't matter. So the fact that they keep saying they're losing children, I highly doubt they're losing children. You don't just misplace children. That's like telling me you left your kids in the car and forgot that they were in there and it's 105 degrees outside. I just don't buy that. Like, you left your kids in the car? How? I got 4 of them. Them little turds talk every day. It's hard to leave them anywhere. All they do is talk. And I love them for it. It's great. But like what I'm saying is that it's hard to misplace a child. It's a child. And seemingly, like I said last night, after every presidency, we'll always hear that somewhere in their presidency, there's some type of missing children or some type of weird shit, like the whole Pizzagate shit, like where they'd say, if you look at the busy times of certain businesses in the Washington, D.C. area, or right now, probably Chicago, you would see that there's an influx. Like, they may have like a busy sign at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, who the fuck is ordering pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning? But we all know what we've heard about with Pizzagate. So, you know, that's just one of those things. Is it true? People say it's not. I'm one to think that America knows what's going on, and I like to think America's probably one of the biggest users of human trafficking. It's what they've built their story off of. All right, we got, looks like Gabby Gifford and Senator Mark Kelly out here. All right. I'm gonna shut my mouth. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time with them, all right?
Hello, fellow Americans! I'm Gabby Gifford. I was born in the great state of Arizona! I was born with grit. I grew up racing motorcycles, mucking stalls, and exploring the beautiful desert. I fell for an astronaut. For 5 years, I served in Congress from a swing district. Everybody called me a rising star. Then on January 8th, 2011, a man tried to assassinate me. He shot 19 people. He killed 6. Terrible, terrible day. I almost died, but I fought for my life and I survived. I learned to walk again, one step at a time. I learned to talk again, one word at a time. So many people helped me as I worked hard to recover, including a decent man for Delaware who always checked in. He still does. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you for everything. Joe is a great president. My friend Kamala will be a great president. She is tough. She has grit. Kamala can beat the gun lobby. She can fight gun trafficking. Kamala stood up to Wall Street and the drug company. She will protect abortion access. She will defend our freedom. She saved lives. Join me in voting for Kamala
know why, but I feel like
I had the honor of meeting Vice President Harris when I got to introduce her when she spoke at my high school about gun violence.
Parkland happened, and all I could think about is that I wanted to keep my kids safe.
On July 4th, 2022, I was next in line to walk in the Highland Park Independence Day Parade and gunshots erupted. 7 people were shot and killed, and 48 more were injured.
Vice President Harris has been a gun sense champion since she was our California AG.
We have 2 options in November. We have Kamala Harris, who has already proven her leadership in the Biden-Harris administration. They passed the first ever comprehensive gun reform in 30 years. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has cozied up to the NRA and the gun lobby.
I have full confidence in Vice President Harris that she's dedicated to and committed to finding a solution to end gun violence.
Please welcome 3-time Grammy-winning singer-songwriter and global pop icon, Pink.
Hello, 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 and I'm back. Boop. There we go. All right, guys, I'm back. So Gabby Gifford, you guys remember her? She was I want to say the governor or senator, but she was getting ready to do a rally one year. Guy walked up on her and ended up shooting at her, ended up hitting her in the head. She had a long road to recovery, and she made it. So I don't know much about Gabby other than that, so I'm not gonna say nothing crazy about Gabby. Be honest, like I'm an asshole, but I don't just shit on everybody. Gabby, I'll leave alone, because you know, if they're faking that, then they're just horrible people for that. But I don't think they faked that one. So Gabby Gifford came out. You know, they've always given Gabby a platform ever since that happened to her. But Pink's out, so that means we should be getting ready to head into the Kamala section of it. So far, I know Walls is standing up there in the section. Now, if he decides to come down, then that's something else. But I don't think he's gonna come down. And this show is supposed to be over by 10 o'clock. It's 8:38 right now, Central Standard Time. So let's see how much longer this goes. Who else they're gonna bring out? Because at this point, we're just waiting on Kamala now. And then I'll give a little end commentary, and then I'll let you guys go. It's Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. If you guys, depending where you're at, you guys got young kids in sports, football season's coming up for the youth. Make sure those babies are hydrated. Make sure those babies are hydrated. For me, probably go see a couple high school games. That's why I said I may come on, I may not, I may catch a game. Get some time away from the computer. I'm gonna average like 12 hours this week of time sitting here because I've been doing these 3-hour segments on the DNC. So should be at about 12 hours after the night. Probably take tomorrow off. Depends on how I feel, and then we're gonna go from there. But we're definitely waiting on Pink to stop singing. And most Democrat fans are Pink fans. I've noticed that. Now, there's something I do want to talk about while they're singing that's going across my screen. You guys heard about this British Bill Gates guy, right? Has anyone read into that story? I'm curious to know, has anyone really read into that story? Because that story is screaming like it's not the truth. You know, tech billionaires have been dying lately. Like, you know, the Fandango, the dude who used to own Fandango, he apparently fell out of a window or a balcony. Don't mind me, I'm eating peanut butter crackers. It's hard work doing this. So the dude, Steve Chamberlain, who was hit by a car while running in Great Britain, I think it's Cambridgeshire, And then there's Jonathan Bloomer, who's the Morgan Stanley banker. Mike Lynch's daughter passed away, but what I find funny, like I mentioned yesterday, is this thing called Dark Trace. And Dark Trace is basically the competition to CrowdStrike. So I guess since there's not a monopoly, it would be CrowdStrike and Dark Trace. They would consider that, you know, the two giants of like cybersecurity infrastructure, I suppose. But something about Dark Trace and what they were testing in their patents has my attention. A lot of the stuff that they were doing was on the back end. Sure, they robbed, allegedly they robbed LP for $11 billion on an over-evaluation of something called an Autonomy. It was created by Mike Lynch. He fostered it and grew and then sold it to HP Autonomy, right? That was like 11, 12 years ago or something more than that. Could be wrong. But they've been in a lawsuit, and recently Mike Lynch and his counterparts won that lawsuit. So what happens is that they walked away with the money, but somebody knocked them off. Look at Mark Kelly. All right, we're gonna break to Mark Kelly and let him talk. That's the dude who's with NASA. So take whatever he says with a grain of salt.
So, President Obama had to follow Michelle. I had to follow Gabby and Pink. Gabby amazes me every single day. She was able to walk out and address you tonight because she's a fighter. And thanks to a team of doctors, nurses, and especially her speech therapist. We all need a team. I've flown into space 4 times. I've flown into combat nearly 40 times. Not once did I do that by myself. It took a team to accomplish a mission. It always does. I flew in the Navy during the first Gulf War. America rallied our allies to kick out a tyrant who invaded a neighbor. Today, Vladimir Putin is testing whether we're still that strong. Iran, North Korea, and especially China watch closely. What's Trump's answer? He invited Russia to do, and these are his words, not mine, whatever the hell they want. Vice President Harris has always championed America's support for NATO, for Ukraine, and for the Ukrainian people. On the Senate Intelligence Committee, she investigated Russian interference in our election. She defends free and fair elections everywhere. You already know he was too busy sucking up to dictators and dreaming of becoming one himself. Trump thinks that Americans who have made the ultimate sacrifice are suckers and losers. If we fall for that again and make him the commander-in-chief, the only suckers would be us. Kamala Harris knows that standing with our allies means standing up for Americans. She'll keep modernizing our military to support our troops and to support our veterans like our next Vice President, Tim Walz. The world laughs at Trump, literally. But folks, it is not funny. When he was president, that meant the world was laughing at us. The threats we face are too serious. The sacrifices our service members make are too sacred. The alliances we've spent decades building are too critical. That's what's at stake now. And the choice isn't even close. But in Arizona and nationwide, this election will be. We'll win in the same way we launch rockets into space and land fighter jets on an aircraft carrier as one team on one mission. State by state, voter by voter, coming together. No country is better than ours at solving big problems. So, on November 5th, let's prove that America is still the leader the world needs today by electing the leader we need right now, Kamala Harris. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Please welcome former...
My fellow Americans, I'm proud to have served in the Army, the Congress, the White House, Chief of Staff, CIA Director, and Secretary of Defense. I've looked into the eyes of our warriors and deployed them into battle. I gave the order directing our Special Operations Forces to fly 2 helicopters 150 miles into Abbottabad at night. And by the time the sun rose, Osama bin Laden was dead. Because nobody attacks our country and gets away with it. Nobody. That's what our warriors do. That's what our warriors do. Our warriors need a tough, cool-headed commander-in-chief to defend our democracy from tyrants and terrorists. We need Kamala Harris behind the resolute desk. She knows a tyrant when she sees one. And our allies know a leader when they see one. On the Senate Intelligence Committee and as Vice President, she worked with more than 150 world leaders. She's looked our allies in the eye and said, America has your back. Trump would abandon our allies and isolate America. We tried that in the 1930s. It was foolish and dangerous then, and it's foolish and dangerous now. Listen to President Reagan. President Reagan. Isolationism never was and never will be an acceptable response to tyrannical governments. Never.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. Stop. Leaves a 3.
Kamala Harris tells tyrants, the hell you can, not on my watch. She's worked with President Zelensky to fight back against Russia. She knows that protecting their democracy protects our democracy as well. Look, Donald Trump does not understand the world, and he does not understand the service and sacrifice of our military. Our fallen veterans are not suckers. They are not losers. They are our heroes. Kamala Harris will honor our veterans. And in Tim Walz, we will have a vice president who has served in uniform honorably for 24 years. Kamala Harris understands this moment. It is a moment of danger and a moment of opportunity. She'll keep America's military the strongest in the world, the strongest ever known. And she understands what our military is for. The role of our military is to defend us from foreign enemies. It is not to threaten Americans, and it sure as hell isn't to put immigrants in camps. Every president since World War II, Republican and Democrat, has shared the belief that America must protect democracy in the world. Every president has honored our veterans and their sacrifices. Every president, but one. So we face a critical choice: to vote for someone who stands with our military and stands up for democracy, or someone who will disrespect our heroes and undermine our democracy. My fellow Americans, there is only one choice. One choice. And let me tell you something. When she takes her oath of office, as she will this January, our allies will cheer, our enemies will fear, and we will have a commander-in-chief that we can trust. God bless our veterans, and God bless our country.
Please welcome Arizona Representative Ruben Gallego.
I'm a dad, husband, congressman, and the proudest Arizonan you'll ever meet.
Mic check, we're back. Mic check, mic check. All right, so that was the former Secretary of Defense. We also had Senator Kelly come out, former NASA pilot and war pilot. He is a Democrat. He came up in Arizona. He's part of the reason why we left Arizona. Not a whole reason why we left, mainly because of the inflation of everything. But part of the reason. If he's part of this whole shit show, and you know, Arizona, I want you guys to know, Arizona's been a very red state for most of its inception. All right. So the fact that Arizona has gone blue now, just blows my mind. And Arizona is one of the more gun-friendly states in the nation. I'm not gonna lie, I really love their gun laws. Bar none, probably the best. I know you guys say Texas, but Arizona's a hard beat, man. Arizona's pretty good as far as certain legislation they have in their state. I will admit that. Now, again, as you notice, the speeches are getting stronger. So that means, as the night goes on, you get your more polished representatives out here. The ones who can read the teleprompter and you forget that they're reading the teleprompter. Those people. Okay. Again, they're rallying Kamala. Are you guys buying it? I know you're not, because you're here with me watching. I'm not buying it. I don't buy the, what's his face, the Republicans. But here we are. We're sitting here watching it. Now, I was reading some of the comments while I was behind the scenes for a second, and I see a lot of, you guys consider the Democrats satanic. I want to say this. While I think both parties have a very satanic feel to both of them, I do think the Democrats do make it a hair more apparent. Just a hair, right? The Democrats, like I've said before, the Democrats are a group of people that have, what I'm about to say comes out of the Kabbalah and Talmud and all that stuff. But one of the things that Zionists or Khazarians believed in was do as thou wilt. So when we talk about the Bible and religion and Satan and demons and what all this is, we say do as thy wilt. That's kind of what the Democrats are kind of on. Do as thy wilt. So this is why I say America's sicker. And to make Lynn's comment very, very relevant, our military is way weaker than it's ever been. And I'm not talking about from a number standpoint, because we're weak, but we're still formidable at the number that we're at. But as far as the quality of soldier you're getting, and again, no one wants, like, I'm gonna say something, all right? Look, I'm a veteran, okay? I don't want to give off this notion that I joined because I believe in America. I didn't. I joined because I wanted benefits and a better opportunity, and I didn't know where I was going in life. And when I say this, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Most of your military enlisted because there's nothing out here. There are some patriots in there. I'm not saying there are no patriots. There are real people who are down for America and believe that they are fighting terrorism. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the majority of the military population join because there are no real opportunities out here. Nowhere in the outside job market are you going to find a position that gives you a home loan, free medical care, housing, life insurance. If you survive it, you're going to get your VA benefits. It's going to take a while, but you're going to get them. There's a lot of positives coming out of going to the military. Now, this does not say that you are absolved for that reason. No. At some point, I was part of this charade, and I didn't fight. I was support. I'm Air Force. We deployed to places like Kuwait. We go to Afghanistan. We go to Iraq. But, we don't see a whole lot of fighting because we weren't that when I was in. Now they're taking that fighting posture, and that's different now. But back then, when I'm gonna get to Governor Whitner, hold on. But back then, the military and the kind of males they were putting in were still fit and fighting males of the U.S. military. Like the U.S. military has always had a strong showing. After 9/11, that's probably one of the strongest showings since Vietnam or World War II. Like, you got to remember, those same 20+ million veterans in the last 20 years or something crazy number like that, those veterans are out right now. And those veterans all feel played right now, like what they did went in vain. Like, going to Afghanistan wasn't worth it. Going to Iraq wasn't worth it. Going to Libya wasn't worth it. Going to Syria wasn't worth it. None of these conflicts were worth it. And the veterans that have gotten out now get that. And then the people that you got in now, I don't know if they're taking that posture that they took 20 years ago on the war on terrorism like they did. This is slightly different. That's all I'm trying to say. All right. Now we're gonna get to Governor Whitmer, and we'll be back. Just the sound.
Kamala Harris knows who she's fighting for, too. She took care of her mom, who also battled cancer. As president, she'll fight to lower the cost of health care and elder care for every family. She's lived a life like ours. She knows us. Donald Trump doesn't know you at all. You think he understands that when your car breaks down, you can't get to work? No. His first word was probably chauffeur. You think he's ever had to take items out of the cart before checking out? Hell, you think he's ever been to a grocery store? That's what the chauffeur is for. But Kamala Harris, she gets us. She sees us. She is us. Look, we've all lived through a lot of history over the past few years. Floods and fires, an attempted coup, a plot, and a pandemic. It's exhausting. We don't know what the next 4 years will bring. But what we do know is this. Through it all, your life won't stop. You're going to have to get to work, pick up the kids, and pay your bills. And then one day, when you're just trying to get everyone out the door, a news alert goes off. Something happened. Something hit the fan. You'll ask, is my family going to be okay? And then you'll ask, who the hell is in charge? What if it's him? What if it's that man from Mar-a-Lago? I know, in a crisis, we need someone strong enough to come up with a plan, to tell the truth, and to bring people together. Right now, before the crisis, is when we get to choose. Why wouldn't we choose the leader who's tough, tested, and a total badass? I know who I want as our commander-in-chief. America, let's choose Kamala Harris.
Please welcome actress, director, and philanthropist, Eva Longoria.
Hello, Chicago!
excited to be here tonight. What an honor to be part of this historic moment, and y'all are part of it. Look, I have known Kamala Harris for more than a decade, and she comes from a family a lot like mine, and I'm sure a lot like yours. We were both raised knowing that no one was gonna hand us anything, especially as women. That we were gonna have to touch every rung of the ladder to get ahead. We were gonna have to work really hard. Now, she worked at McDonald's, but I worked at Wendy's. And look at us now. You see, Kamala and I were able to see beyond the horizon because our families supported our big dreams. Well, guess what? As Americans, we're all part of one big family. Somos familia. And as familia, we have to have each other's back. We have to support each other's dreams because Kamala's success is our success. And she supports us to dream big too. So let me tell you, in the Latino community, in our community, we have a saying, "Sí se puede," which means yes. It means yes, we can. But tonight, I'm here to tell you, yes, she can. So we're going to say, "She se puede." So when someone asks you, is she ready to lead this country forward, we're going to say, "She se puede." When somebody says, is she qualified for the job, we're going to say, "She se puede." When somebody asks, is she going to be the first female president of the United States, we're going to say, "She se puede." Our voices, our vote, we're going to decide this election. And let me tell you, the energy tonight isn't just here in Chicago, it's all across the country. People are gathered at watch parties everywhere to celebrate Kamala Harris. Say hello. Yes. All right. We know how to work, so let's get to work. Let's turn all of this enthusiasm and joy into action between now and November 5th. Let's go. She se puede. She se puede.
Please welcome former Illinois Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger.
They gonna guess we can us into the damn ground. It's very, very tiresome to listening to them. And I'm gonna say this for this reason. It's very tiresome because it's just chants. It's just pep rallies. And both of them are pep rallies. Like, don't get it twisted. Republicans throw pep rallies also. But what I'm saying is, when you do it with Democrats, it definitely feels like a high school pep rally. And, you know, all the teachers come out and give their best speeches, and you go from there. And then you go out there Friday night, and then you can get the shit kicked out of you. That's the Democrats. The Democrats aren't a strong party because of their policies and because of the lackluster history they have. A lot of people would like to think that they've passed something. The only thing that they've really passed is a lot of LGBTQ legislation, a lot of anti-Asian hate crime bills. Like, I'm a big proponent about this one particular policy. You guys got to understand, we didn't get an anti-lynching policy till 2021. And I'm saying this for a reason. I'm not trying to race bait. I'm not doing anything like that. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of things that they should have done a long time ago and fixed, and they haven't. And they haven't for a reason. always understand, like one of my biggest arguments with the black community is that the fact that we had a black president and he did not give us an anti-lynching bill. I thought that was strange. Just because it's such an ugly act of hate, and that if we really are above these things of hate, then you would make sure that there's legislation protecting all walks of life that deserve it. No matter the color or creed, no one should be discriminated against. No one should be casted out. No one should be made to feel like they're second or third world people, or they should be alienated. That's not the kind of person that I am. I do believe that if humans were in a more healthy environment mentally, we would be better off and very progressive as far as going in the right direction as the human race. A lot of this problem is coming from the institutions in which our leaderships have created for us, and those institutions are also sick. So you can't get better in a sick environment. What they're doing is working, and it's supposed to work this way. The system's not broken. It needs to be dismantled. The system is working just fine. It's not broken. It's working. Americans are sick mentally right now. People are tired. People are exhausted. People cannot focus. Children are different. Grandparents are different. Education system is absolutely abysmal right now. The institutions are sick. Everything is tainted. It's not just humans. I hate to say that. Like people always get like in an uproar and they be like, what do you think the answer is? Well, if everyone's not sick and everything isn't perverted, we would all be in a better place. But we can't do it to ourselves if someone's doing it to us and we don't know it. You guys understand what I'm saying? I hope so. Our leadership is sick. Our institutions are sick. Our justice system is sick. Our Congress and all that is sick. Everything is sick and toxic and filthy. So what do you think when we consume it? What do you think happens to us? We're not exempt from being sick. These same twisted people are giving us fluoride in our water. These same twisted people are killing Flint, Michigan residents with water. And very much so most of America right now. The education system is slop right now across the board. If you're in the South, education system is not strong at all. I'm telling you that now. And I have worked as a paraprofessional. I won't say I'm a just full out teacher, but I can tell you working as a paraprofessional in a sped room, I tell you, they are underpaid. That system is absolutely sick also. It's toxic, and it's not healthy. This is all very true of our situation. So when we're sitting here like, how do we fix it? My answer has always been to dismantle this whole thing and start over. It sounds better than burning it to the ground. I don't want to do that. People will be like, oh, anarchist. No, just I understand how sick it is. And it's very sick. It's a system that's not working towards the people. It's working to line the pockets of the people who are willing to do anything for it. That's why, you know, in history, your biggest community leaders were your drug dealers. Why? Because they were willing to do anything to make it, and they had the money, and that gives you influence, and people are willing to do things to get a piece of that money, like look the other way. So the whole time you out here killing the neighborhood, they looking the other way because you paying their light bill. And it's been like that for at least 40 years. So when we talk about how sick America is, we need to remember our institutions are sick. Our leadership is sick. So the citizens, us, the people, don't have a choice but to be sick. Not, and I'm not saying like, oh, we're just all horrible people, and no, it's not that you're horrible. It's that that's what you've been learning. That's what we all have been learning. That's why we're the war district. Look at us. We're gun happy. We're violent. We're used to stress at all times. Think about it. We're the war district for a reason. Who else is rocking shit like American military? We treat our military as a contracted group of dogs. If you understand what's going on, if you understand how Bibi offered contracts if they brought the U.S. military over to help with the conflict in Iran and Lebanon. That's how they play this shit. They're like, we'll let you do it. And then they're like, well, we'll use the military. We'll go in, kick in some doors, bust some heads, blow some shit up. And then we'll get the DOD contracts to the MIC and the construction firms, and we'll come in and we'll rebuild the country. Billions of dollars, not including the resources they're going to get. That's sick. Think about it. They're willing to genocide a whole country and kill tribes just to get billions of dollars. That's why it's not possible to be a billionaire and be a good person. You ever met a noble billionaire at this point? I haven't met one. I haven't met a billionaire in general, but all the billionaires that I'm looking at seem like they're pretty fucked up. I'm not sure why, other than clearly they've joined some secret society and their allegiance is to something else, because clearly if they wanted to fix the problems in America, as I always said, they would have fixed them. This young lady is Maya Harris. This is the sister of Kamala Harris. Again, they're playing the identity politics game, all right? I guess we can watch this. I feel like they're getting ready to come to Kamala, excuse me. It's 9:17, yeah. Shit ends at 10, so they're getting ready to come on in. Getting ready to take it home.
You see, Mommy understood the power and the possibility that come with knowing and showing who you truly are. She knew we could be the authors of our own stories, just as she'd been the author of her own. Mommy's journey and the opportunity that she wanted for Kamala and me, that's a distinctly American story. We may all have different histories, different struggles, or different perspectives, but what binds us together is the fervent desire to be free, to fulfill our God-given potential. Kamala's entire life has been about fighting for each of us to have that freedom. And like so many Americans, Kamala knows what it's like to be underestimated and be counted out. She knows what it's like to be the underdog and yet still beat the odds. And now, she has created so much electricity, so much optimism, so much joy throughout the nation, and it is why we need her leadership in this historic moment. We are living in a time when some are trying to divide us, to separate us in ways that make it difficult for us to come together. Well, look, my sister rejects that view. Where others push darkness, Kamala sees promise. Where others feel detachment, Kamala fosters connection. Where others want to drag us back to the past, my sister says, hold up now, we are not going back. Because Kamala understands we have so much more in common than what separates us. She knows the measure of our success isn't just winning an election. It's about who we bring along and lift up in the process. And so as I look out at all of you today, and take in this incredible moment. I so wish that Mommy could be here tonight. I can just see her smiling, saying how proud she is of Kamala. And then, without missing a beat, she said, "That's enough, you got work to do." She would tell all of us to roll up our sleeves and get to work, to elect a leader who sees the potential in each of us, a leader who cares for all of us, a leader who fights for every one of us. Our Democratic nominee, my big sister, the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Please welcome North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper.
Hello, America. I'm Roy Cooper, the last guy standing between you and the moment we're all waiting for. So I'm going to get right to it. All week, you've heard stories about my friend Kamala. I want to take you behind the scenes of one of them. 2011 was a rough time for American homeowners. Hundreds of thousands were losing their homes to illegal foreclosure. I was Attorney General in North Carolina, while Kamala had just become California's. All the AGs were close to a settlement with the big banks, and it was a pretty good deal. Would have meant $4 billion for California families who'd been ripped off. I know that sounds like a lot, but Kamala said, "Hang on a minute. I've met these families. I know what they've been through, and they deserve more." She went toe-to-toe with some of the world's most powerful executives, and she refused to give in. Let me tell you, this was a huge risk, but she knew it was a risk worth taking. That's Kamala. And we all know what happened. The banks caved. That $4 billion for California families became $20 billion. That was the first time I witnessed Kamala in action. And what I saw was a leader who does exactly what she says she's going to do, who never will settle for less. America, we got a lot of big fights ahead of us. And we've got one hell of a fighter ready to take them on. I know that. I know that because I know her. And tonight, I want the American people to know, even if you don't agree with her on everything, Kamala Harris will fight for you to the very end. For families who need better health care or a safer place to live, Kamala will fight for you. For parents who want better schools for their kids, for workers worried about a secure retirement for themselves, Kamala will fight for you. For any one of our allies, anywhere in the world, wondering if America still has your back, remember this: Kamala will fight for you. And when she fights, we win. Kamala's ready. Kamala's ready. The question is, are we? Are we going to stand up and fight for Kamala like she'll stand up and fight for us? All right. If you're ready, my home state of North Carolina, stand up. Stand Up Pennsylvania.
Hey guys, listen. Pep rally shit. It's not. You see how they're guiding the crowd? They probably have someone in the crowd holding signs, and when they get riled up, they hold up the signs like in the Late Show. When you go to the Late Show and you're sitting in the audience, you know, if you look up, there's little scroll bars that say when to laugh and when to clap and when to do this and that, right? Okay, now imagine that out there. That's why they're chants. That's why they're sitting there. We're gonna do what? Yes, we can. Because that's how we protest. Like, we protest at rallies and all that, and march and chant and do songs and don't get nothing fucking accomplished. Nothing gets accomplished. You go home, you're like, yeah, man, we stuck it to the man. Man, they go back to they goddamn whatever they go to, and they be like, all right, guys, this is what the plan is. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this to healthcare, we're going to do this, that, and this and that. And then when they come out to us, they're like, all right, guys, you ready? And we're looking for you, because in North Carolina, we love you. And then they go right back into the background, and they be like, look, I need them 20 keys, 50% off, cuz. It's a show, guys. It really is. It's really not what we think it is. And I say we, I always say we, because, you know, as a whole, as Americans, the conversation is that this is the last presidency. And people are like, what the fuck do you mean it's the last presidency? Well, if you have read any of these agendas, they all call, not all, maybe 3 of them call for a new political system. Now, the one that everyone's clinging to, where they basically say they halt the political system right there, they dismantle it, and then they have special elections to put new representatives in. This is on the spot. Like, this would be on the I think this is what we call Agenda 21, or what it may be Agenda 47 under Trump shit, but I understand this is what's holding NESARA, GESARA, the quantum financial system. It's supposed to be a clean slate for education, a clean slate for banking and finance, and everybody involved. Everyone's supposed to go to sovereign rights, free medical care, the universal basic income, which makes me very scary of what they're thinking, because all of these systems have kind of the same thought process. So, to be honest, it makes me think that they're the same thing. But the idea is that America, through this military quote-unquote operation, we're supposed to rid ourselves of the political problem and financial problem and these sinister people, and then we're supposed to completely dismantle the system and start over. What people are saying is that Bill Clinton, when he was supposed to sign, well, he did sign the Modernization Act of 1999. That was the beginning of NESARA, but what they're saying is he didn't really want to sign it, and they forced him to sign it. This is kind of the QAnon story, right? So this is why when we speed up to 9/11, we have that situation, but it goes into the NESARA, GESARA idea and the quantum financial system. The idea is this is the theory. This is just a theory, all right? This is just a theory, people. But what happened was, when Bush Jr. was at the school, he was supposed to announce it that day. What happened that day? Okay, yeah, you see where this is going. That's why the shocked look on his face made me kind of realize that maybe information was compartmentalized away from him, because we know who his dad is and what his dad is capable of doing as a former head and director of the Alphabet Boys CIA. Hear me out. This is just a theory. I'm not saying this shit is real. I didn't say it was real. I said it's a theory, but just hear me out. I'm saying that day when you saw Bush Jr. at the school, he was supposed to be announcing NESARA and GESARA, and he was going to lay out all the guidelines. Where else would you do that with than at a school with children? Because what was the message back then? The children are the future. Even though when I look back at that slogan now, that shit sounds real sinister. now that we know who we're dealing with. But back then, when you made these big announcements as president and you wrote legislation, you would either do it on your desk in the Oval Office, or you would do it at a location like a school or a hospital. Usually for stuff like that was groundbreaking, to soften the blow from a marketing standpoint, you would use children, because it would seem as if the children are the future in the marketing standpoint. It's a whole marketing ploy. What happened was, he thought he was going to sign something that day, and 9/11 happened. This would explain the stupid look on his fucking face that day. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying, you know, hey. Is this Kamala? Oh, here she is, finally. All right, guys. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to put it on her, guys. Put it on her. Here we go. Turn that down.
Please, thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, let's get to business. Let's get to business. All right. So let me start by thanking my most incredible husband, Doug, for being an incredible partner to me, an incredible father to Cole and Ella, and happy anniversary, Dougie. I love you so very much. To our President, Joe Biden. When I think about the path that we have traveled together, Joe, I am filled with gratitude. Your record is extraordinary, as history will show, and your character is inspiring. And Doug and I love you and Jill and are forever thankful to you both. And to Coach Tim Walz, you are going to be an incredible vice president. candidates and everyone who has put your faith in our campaign. Your support is humbling. So, America, the path that led me here in recent weeks was no doubt unexpected. But I'm no stranger to unlikely journeys. So, my mother, our mother, Shamala Harris, had one of her own. And I miss her every day, and especially right now. And I know she's looking down smiling. I know that. So my mother was 19 when she crossed the world alone, traveling from India to California with an unshakable dream to be the scientist who would cure breast cancer. When she finished school, she was supposed to return home to a traditional arranged marriage. But as fate would have it, she met my father, Donald Harris, a student from Jamaica. They fell in love and got married, and that act of self-determination made my sister Maya and me. Growing up, we moved a lot. I will always remember that big Mayflower truck packed with all our belongings, ready to go to Illinois, to Wisconsin, and wherever our parents' jobs took us. My early memories of our parents together are very joyful ones. A home filled with laughter and music, Aretha, Coltrane, and Miles. At the park, my mother would say, "Stay close." But my father would say, as he smiled, "Run, Kamala, run. Don't be afraid. Don't let anything stop you." From my earliest years, he taught me to be fearless. But the harmony between my parents did not last. When I was in elementary school, they split up. And it was mostly my mother who raised us. Before she could finally afford to buy a home, she rented a small apartment in the East Bay. In the Bay, you either live in the hills or the flatlands. We lived in the flats. A beautiful, working-class neighborhood of firefighters, nurses, and construction workers, all who tended their lawns with pride. My mother, she worked long hours, and like many working parents, she leaned on a trusted circle to help raise us. Mrs. Shelton, who ran the daycare below us and became a second mother. Uncle Sherman, Aunt Mary, Uncle Freddie, Auntie Chris. None of them family by blood, and all of them family by love. Family who taught us how to make gumbo, how to play chess, and sometimes even let us win. Family who loved us, believed in us, and told us we could be anything and do anything. They instilled in us the values they personified: community, faith, and the importance of treating others as you would want to be treated, with kindness, respect, and compassion. My mother was a brilliant, 5-foot-tall, brown woman with an accent. And as the eldest child, I saw how the world would sometimes treat her. But my mother never lost her cool. She was tough, courageous, a trailblazer in the fight for women's health, and she taught Maya and me a lesson that Michelle mentioned the other night. She taught us to never complain about injustice, but do something about it. Do something That was my mother. And she taught us, and she also taught us, and never do anything half-assed. And that is a direct quote. A direct quote. I grew up immersed in the ideals of the civil rights movement. My parents had met at a civil rights gathering, and they made sure that we learned about civil rights leaders, including the lawyers like Thurgood Marshall and Constance Baker Motley, those who battled in the courtroom to make real the promise of America. So at a young age, I decided I wanted to do that work. I wanted to be a lawyer. And when it came time to choose the type of law I would pursue, I reflected on a pivotal moment in my life. You see, when I was in high school, I started to notice something about my best friend, Wanda. She was sad at school, and there were times she didn't want to go home. So one day I asked if everything was all right, and she confided in me that she was being sexually abused by her stepfather. And I immediately told her she had to come stay with us, and she did. This is one of the reasons I became a prosecutor, to protect people like Wanda, because I believe everyone has a right to safety, to dignity, and to justice. As a prosecutor, when I had a case, I charged it not in the name of the victim, but in the name of the people. For a simple reason. In our system of justice, a harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us. And I would often explain this to console survivors of crime, to remind them no one should be made to fight alone. We are all in this together. And every day, in the courtroom, I stood proudly before a judge, and I said 5 words: Kamala Harris for the people. And to be clear, my entire career, I've only had one client, the people. And so, on behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America. And with this election, our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans, And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections to the peaceful transfer of power. I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, a president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been my life's work. As a young courtroom prosecutor in Oakland, California, I stood up for women and children against predators who abuse them. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big banks, delivered $20 billion for middle-class families who faced foreclosure, and helped pass a homeowner Bill of Rights, one of the first of its kind in the nation. I stood up for veterans and students being scammed by big for-profit colleges, for workers who are being cheated out of their wages, the wages they were due, for seniors facing elder abuse. I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings, who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities. And I will tell you, these fights were not easy. And neither were the elections that put me in those offices. We were underestimated at practically every turn. But we never gave up, because the future is always worth fighting for. And that's the fight we are in right now, a fight for America's future. Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans, and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse. And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails, and how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States, not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself. And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back to when Donald Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare. We are not going back to when he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools. We are not going to let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and childcare for our children. America, we are not going back. And we are charting a new way forward. Forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. And I'll tell you, this is personal for me. The middle class is where I come from. My mother kept a strict budget. We lived within our means, yet we wanted for little. And she expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available to us and to be grateful for them. Because, as she taught us, opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create what I call an opportunity economy, an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance to succeed. Whether you live in a rural area, small town, or big city. And as president, I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American companies to create jobs, to grow our economy, and to lower the cost of everyday needs like health care and housing and groceries. We will provide access to capital for small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders. And we will end America's housing shortage and protect Social Security and Medicare. Now compare that to Donald Trump, because I think everyone here knows he doesn't actually fight for the middle class. He doesn't actually fight for the middle class. Instead, he fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt. And all the while, he intends to enact what in effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by almost $4,000 a year. Well, instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans. Friends, I believe America cannot truly be prosperous unless Americans are fully able to make their own decisions about their own lives, especially on matters of heart and home. But tonight, in America, too many women are not able to make those decisions. And let's be clear about how we got here. Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom. And now he brags about it. In his words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," end quote. Well, I'll tell you, over the past 2 years, I've traveled across our country, and women have told me their stories. Husbands and fathers have shared theirs. Stories of women miscarrying in a parking lot, developing sepsis, losing the ability to ever again have children, all because doctors are afraid they may go to jail for caring for their patients. Couples just trying to grow their family, cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. Children who have survived sexual assault, potentially being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. This is what's happening in our country because of Donald Trump. And understand, he is not done. As a part of his agenda, he and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds. And one must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. In this election, many other fundamental freedoms are at stake. The freedom to live safe from gun violence in our schools, communities, and places of worship. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. The freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water and live free from the pollution that fuels the climate crisis. And the freedom that unlocks all the others, the freedom to vote. With this election, we finally have the opportunity to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And let me be clear, after decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law. I know we can live up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border. And America, we must also be steadfast in advancing our security and values abroad. As Vice President, I have confronted threats to our security, negotiated with foreign leaders, strengthened our alliances, and engaged with our brave troops overseas. As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world, and I will fulfill our sacred obligation.
Fresh-tasting margs are best with fresh-pressed agave or Nethos, a fresh take.
Sacrifice. I will make sure that we lead the world into the future on space and artificial intelligence, that America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century, and that we strengthen, not abdicate, our global leadership. Trump, on the other hand, threatened to abandon NATO. He encouraged Putin to invade our allies, said Russia could, quote, do whatever the hell they want. 5 days before Russia attacked Ukraine, I met with President Zelensky to warn him about Russia's plan to invade. I helped mobilize a global response, over 50 countries, to defend against Putin's aggression. And as president, I will stand strong with Ukraine and our NATO allies. With respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock, because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7, including unspeakable sexual violence and the massacre of young people at a music festival. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination. And know this, I will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend our forces and our interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump. Because, you know, they know he is easy to manipulate with flattery and favors. They know Trump won't hold autocrats accountable because he wants to be an autocrat himself. And as president, I will never waver in defense of America's security and ideals, because in the enduring struggle between democracy and tyranny, I know where I stand and I know where the United States belongs. So fellow Americans, I love our country with all my heart. Everywhere I go, in everyone I meet, I see a nation that is ready to move forward, ready for the next step in the incredible journey that is America. I see an America where we hold fast to the fearless belief that built our nation and inspired the world, that here in this country, anything is possible, that nothing is out of reach. An America where we care for one another, look out for one another, and recognize that we have so much more in common than what separates us. That none of us has to fail for all of us to succeed. And that in unity there is strength. You know, our opponents in this race are out there every day denigrating America, talking about how terrible everything is. Well, my mother had another lesson she used to teach. Never. America, let us show each other and the world who we are and what we stand for. Freedom, opportunity, compassion, dignity, fairness, and endless possibilities. We are the heirs to the greatest democracy in the history of the world. And on behalf of our children and our grandchildren and all those who sacrificed so dearly for our freedom and liberty, we must be worthy of this moment. It is now our turn to do what generations before us have done, guided by optimism and faith, to fight for this country we love, to fight for the ideals we cherish, and to uphold the awesome responsibility that comes with the greatest privilege on earth, the privilege and pride of being an American. So let's get out there, let's fight for it, let's get out there, let's vote for it, and together, let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all.
She right about one thing. It's the most extraordinary conspiracy in world damn history. She got one thing damn correct. It's a story for the damn ages. Now, again, she can read a teleprompter really well. She did well. The crowd loved it. The crowd eated up. You see they got the Kamala sign. They got like 83 signs with them. They're just over here flying signs. Just realized the thing was in the background. Sorry. All right. Now, what I was saying was it's an extraordinary story. It's one of the greatest conspiracies in world history. Point blank, period. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like this shit probably didn't work. It worked. There's liberals everywhere wet right now. Oh, my God. We're going to win. We're going to win. No more Trump. And then there's people on the right side like, oh, we're going to win. No more liberals. And then it's us. And we're like, ah, fuck. They don't get it. It's hard to watch, but you got to understand, man, as much as it looks normal, as much as it feels like it's natural, it's not. Listen, you understand why Walls is so happy? Because this is his entrance. This man hasn't been in politics long. All right? He just showed up, got in, and, he did his job. He did well. He played the game. And here he is. He's going to be vice president. He's going to solidify his family's future. All while, Americans go through the same old, same old. I'm not saying that there aren't some things that they might do that are good here and there. I've never said that. I think they pass things that make them look good. Like I said, they throw money at it, and then sometimes it works. You get lucky. Broken clock is weary of your elected officials who tell you sweet nothings, who give you bread and circus at your every call, who always manage to bite off rappers, who always manage to be at the right place at the right time, every time. Be wary of these people you call your leaders. Be wary of the people you seek information from sometime, even me. There's nothing wrong with researching. I might be wrong. I have no problem being wrong. I can tell you, I thought they were going to put Clinton or Obama in there. I was wrong. I'm kind of glad I was wrong, but they figured Tim Walz and Kamala Harris is surely to win. A lot of you think that this election won't happen, and I think it's going to go through and we're going to get to 2025. I think whoever wins or loses, you're going to see the after effects of that via political proxy groups and incidents and conflicts. But whoever wins, it's going to be a damn doozy. And whoever gets in, they're going to have to win the House and they're going to have to win the Senate. And right now, it's looking like it's going to be a very, very red tenure in the House and the Senate with Trump. Again, typically it's been flip-flop. You'll get a red House, red Senate, blue president, red president, vice versa. Sometimes they might be, you know, blue and red, split between those two. That makes it feel like there's a choice somewhere. I will hope they were actually doing something of service to us. It just doesn't come off that way anymore. But somewhere down the line, whoever wins this election, I do still believe that that will be the last president. I don't think we're going to see another president after that. I think whatever system is coming will come with this president that we're about to get. That's one I do feel like I know. I don't think we're going to get another president because all the agendas call for basically a new form of political system. And that's very narrow and very broad at the same time. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how it's going to be fashioned. You don't really know much about what they're thinking. We got an idea of what they're thinking, but we really don't know. And what we think we know is 10 times worse. Because if we really knew everything, and I mean everything, I assure you that they wouldn't be rallying right now. I'm not calling for anything crazy. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is, if everybody in America knew what was being done while this is taking place, you wouldn't be so quick to go to the voting booth. You would be at their door like, yo, we need to talk. Like, bro, we saw the list and pictures and videos. Like, had they listen, let's say Epstein gets caught, justice works, right? And they put that list out and then they actually start arresting people. Where would you think we would be at with a political system? What do you think would have to happen after all those arrests of celebrities and political officials, teachers, whatever, everyone? We're gonna have to start over. So, and if we got to start over, that doesn't look good on their part as far as puppeteering the system. So there's a reason why those names haven't come out. It's a reason why no one's gone to jail. It's a reason why Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were standing right here before us. Even though people say they've been in Gitmo, I don't get into that. I can only go by what I see, and if that's movie makeup, damn it, I can't tell the difference. But what I'm saying is, if this was a perfect world and justice really prevailed, we wouldn't see any of these people on stage right now. We actually wouldn't even be celebrating them on both sides. Because please don't forget, Trump hung with Epstein. And if you want to sit here and tell me it was part of the deep state back then, listen. I mean, you got to understand, when you're hanging with people like that, you're getting down with those people. Those people don't typically allow the people they want around them, and they don't do nothing. Like, I'm sorry, it just, in some of them situations at this level, it just does not apply anymore. Like, you can maybe look down at the lower level and be like, yeah, sure, that man could have walked out. It doesn't put him near it. But when we're talking about a great conspiracy like the one we're talking about, where everyone of real influence and leadership is involved, it kind of makes sense why no one's gone to prison, because you're not going to arrest yourself. Does that make sense to you? It makes sense to me. You're not going to arrest yourself. Does it seem like they're worried? Like, if they are, they're good at hiding it. Because I'm going to be honest, they don't seem like they're worried. So it doesn't seem like this list is of any real value or threat to them. Like, and there's been a lot of conflict with that list. Like, you know, a couple years back, the judge lost her husband, and her son was also shot by a FedEx guy. The judge just so happened to be covering the case regarding the money in the bank accounts, which I think it was not Wells Fargo, I think it was HSBC and JP Morgan. And what happens is father opens the door, and the FedEx driver is an assassin, a hired hitman, opens fire, kills husband, son lives, And that's the end of we hear that shit. We ain't hear nothing else about that, did we? No. That happened. That actually happened. Again, there's enough information that's true that would make you question what's going on. And if the information that is true and they're still walking around, then that would tell you how much control is being used or wielded. It's a lot, because we've seen the alleged list. Everyone's seen the quote unquote list. There's been multiple lists. Some lists had some flight logs had abbreviations, some flight logs had last names, some flight logs had full names, and then the last list that circulated had all the names. So whichever one's real, whatever the propaganda is, the names kind of line up with the story that they told. Like, you see how fast they put that documentary out when they caught him? Like, I always find that, like, as soon as it happens, they be like, bam, documentary. It's like them trying to absolve themselves, and then they tell us what they're doing, and we're like, damn, that's crazy, but it's over now. It's not over. That man's not dead. You think someone that powerful, allegedly with, Mossad, is gone? Listen, you ever seen the movie Lord of War? You remember at the end of that movie when they catch Nicolas Cage, Ethan Hawke finally catches him. He brings him in. He's sitting in the interrogation room with him. I've talked about this before. And he's sitting there ranting and raving, laughing like, I got my biggest bust ever. I'm going to get accommodated. And Nicholas smiles at him. He explains to him that someone of higher rank is going to walk in. They're going to thank you for your service. You're going to get accommodated on this. And then they're going to tell you that you need to let me go. And he's like, you're going to rant, you're going to rave, you're going to threaten to quit, and it won't matter, because in the end, I'm needed. I'm a evil necessity. You know what I'm saying? Like, this kind of person who does these things are needed. It's a natural evil. You need someone to go do these things because the politicians don't want to get caught doing it. The other people don't want to get caught, so you need to find someone who's willing to work for the country and do the heavy lifting that they can't be seen doing. And this is what we're always talking about with Epstein, is that he's one of those people who were doing things that Israel may not want to get caught up with, but there's some link to him there. There's some connection between those two. There's some connections with his people here. So when we talk about how power is distributed and why no one's going to jail, is because you're not going to arrest yourself. So as soon as this information went to the feds, that shit was locked away and put away. And I heard that the warehouse in New York burned down a couple years ago. I saw it. I don't know how true it was. I saw it on the news. The news could have been lying too. Could be propaganda. But I do know, I find it very curious that this man had like 3 houses. All the houses got raided in 3 different states and in another country, off the water, basically. And none of the footage has been used. No one's gone to prison that we know of. People have lost some press and some following and some likings, whatever, but no one's actually really gone to prison. Even with the conversation about the Clintons, and obviously being guilty, as the Clintons are, guilty in a lot of things in the last 20 plus years, they still walked out on stage tonight, right? Right. So, again, apparently they're willing to do anything to not go to prison. These people are dangerous. We all put ourselves in danger when we do this. It's the truth of the matter. If you catch something and you figure it out, you could be knocked off. There's plenty of content creators disappearing. There's plenty of police officers who got too close who disappeared. Gary Webb, CIA, in the 90s. Ira Contra scandal. He blew the whistle. He shot himself twice in the head. That should tell you everything. Like, these people don't play around. Whatever they know and whatever they're doing, they do not want to stop doing it, and they don't want to get caught, but they have to tell us what they're doing, which is oxymoron in itself, but they do it. So everything we're watching, this is why we always say bread and circus, because behind the scenes, there's something going on. There's some conversations being had. And always remember this. When we talk about bread and circus in Rome, and we talk about who was there, always remember the important people were there at those events, but they weren't there to watch them. They were there to politic. They were there to, rub some shoulders, while everybody else drunk wine and ate bread and screamed and blood was spilled all over the arena. That was for like the little people, but the big people were always in the press booth, basically politicking. And if you look at our games and you look at anything we do, at the bottom, regular people. At the top, elites. Notice that they always put themselves above us in a way. And it's more business than it is pleasure when they're sitting up there. Sure, they're watching the game, but sure, they are also politicking and making moves. And this is in any form of entertainment, organization, and anything. When a big rally is going on, the people who truly finance it and run it are never in your face. The people you are seeing are the representatives of the organization, but the real face of the organization, where the money is coming from, is never the person out there. Think about that. You saw Diddy all the time dancing in his videos. He was never in the background, was he? No, because he's not a background person. He's a puppet. He's a plant. He's a very gatekeeping, well-informed plant, but he is a plant. So don't forget, what you see, it's not what you think it is. And what you think and where you think this could go, you could be completely wrong. We could all be completely wrong, and there could be disclosure. And we find out the truth, and apparently all this shit was happening the whole time. But in my luck, in my understanding of history, and seeing how all these same signs have played out at the same times in history, in the same exact kind of situations, it does not end well. Oh, it does not end well at all. At least it doesn't end well for the person opposing it. The person going for it, sure, it's great, but if you are opposing what's coming down this pipeline, oh man, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well for any of us. So yeah, sure, it makes sense why most of Americans are going to be a problem. Your veterans, your single individual free thinkers, your people who just don't like the IRS. Like anything you could think, anything opposing the government and the infrastructure and the system itself has been deemed a domestic terrorist. That's why Christianity has been deemed extremism now. Think about it. You can't be wrong if the things are happening. And it can't be fake if it's happening. The actual reason might be fake as far as what they're telling you, and that's what would make it a false flag. But please assure that they're not going to fake death, and they're not going to fake certain things. And they're going to attempt to do certain things because they've done them before. Our country has gone all around the world pulling coups, destroying tribes, pillaging land and taking it from people, human trafficking as we speak. And you think that these people voting, right, these people running for election are for us. Those people are to keep us in line while the people in the background do the real pillaging and robbing and treachery and treason. In an organization, the most important people are never seen. And we just seen all of them, and they are not the most important people. Not even close to being the most important. So, before I get off of here and we end this great night on night 4 of the Democratic National Convention rally, we've ended it. This is the 4th day it's over. We'll see where tomorrow takes us. But, there is a Trump rally. Could cover it, could not cover it. Just depends on how I'm feeling tomorrow. Been knocking out some streaming time this week, so be prepared for new content coming out. Also want to say thank you for hanging out with me and coming over to Rumble. Facebook is very communist-like. You know, TikTok also. It's funny that it's kind of that way now that they got a back door to it, but I digress. But what I will say before we get out of here, we're all in this psyop together. Please understand, do not eat this shit with a spoon. Do not comply, because whatever's coming down the pipeline, it's coming, and it's coming quickly. And when it does, we're going to be shocked again like we were when the assassination attempt happened. We're going to be like, oh, scandal, intrigue, ah! And we're going to miss the trick again. Well, y'all might miss the trick. I'm going to be watching, because I'm always here watching. Just what I do, guys. I keep an eye on the deep state. I'm going to let you go. It's Thursday night. Tomorrow's Friday. You guys have a great night. Thank you for hanging out with me. This is the Daily Rabbit Hole. Stay vigilant.